The learning loop experience: observe, adjust. Learning a new skill is like riding a bike. You don't just read the manual and hop on. You need to experience it. This is where the learning loop comes in. First, you try the skill. Then you observe the results. Did you wobble? Did you fall? Finally, you adjust your approach based on what you learned. This cycle repeats, and with each loop you get a little bit better. Think about learning to play a new song on the guitar. You start by trying to play the chords. You listen closely to the sounds you're making. You notice mistakes. Maybe your fingers are pressing too hard, or you're switching chords too slowly. You adjust your technique and try again. This experience, observation, adjustment cycle is key to mastering any skill. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of learning something new and try to rush the process. But consistent practice and mindful observation are crucial for improvement. Remember, the learning loop is a marathon, not a sprint. Take your time, focus on each step, and enjoy the journey of skill development. Theory. Overload. Don't clog your mental RAM. Imagine your brain is like a computer. It has a limited amount of RAM, which it uses to process information. Now imagine trying to learn a new skill by reading every book and watching every video on the subject. You might think you're doing the right thing, but you're actually overloading your brain's RAM. This is called theory overload, and it's a common trap for new learners. Too much information at once can be overwhelming and counterproductive. Think of it like trying to stuff a giant stack of blocks into a small bowl. The bowl represents your cognitive capacity, and the blocks are the theoretical concepts. You can only fit so much in before it becomes impossible to actually use any of it. Instead of cramming your brain with theory, focus on practical experience. Start with the basics and gradually build your knowledge as you go. This way, you'll avoid mental overload and retain more of what you learn. Remember, learning should be enjoyable, not overwhelming. Archery analogy: physical versus mental effort. Learning a physical skill like archery is a great way to understand the balance between theory and practice. When you shoot an arrow, you use physical resources like muscle strength and stamina. But you also use mental resources like focus and coordination. Both are important for hitting the target. Just like your muscles can get tired after a long archery session, your brain can get fatigued from too much mental effort. This is why it's important to avoid theory overload. If you try to learn everything about archery before you even pick up a bow, your brain will be exhausted before you even start practicing. The same principle applies to any skill, whether it's playing an instrument, writing code, or speaking a new language. Find a balance between learning the theory and putting it into practice. Don't be afraid to take breaks when you need them, and remember that consistent effort over time is the key to mastery. Case study: less theory, more progress. Let's compare two people learning a new skill, Sesh and Enzo. Sesh dives headfirst into theory, devouring books and lectures. He spends 31% of his learning time on theory and 69% on practice. Enzo, on the other hand, prefers a more hands-on approach. He spends just 20% of his time on theory and 80% on practice. You might think Sesh's deep dive into theory would give him an edge, but surprisingly, Enzo makes significantly more progress. He starts with a baseline skill level of 62% and improves to 92%. Sesh, despite his theoretical knowledge, only improves from 80% to 71%. This highlights a crucial point: too much theory can actually hinder your progress. This isn't to say theory is unimportant. It provides context and helps you understand the why behind the how. But the key is balance. Start with a small amount of theory, just enough to get you going. Then focus on practicing and applying what you've learned. As you gain experience, you can gradually introduce more theory to deepen your understanding and refine your skills.